Sometimes I receive a lovely gift and I'm just not sure how best to show my appreciation. Should I send a card, perhaps a phone call? If they gave it to me in person and I thank them, should I still follow up with a personal note? And I also wonder, in this age of technology, is it ever okay to send my appreciation through an email? Here to answer these puzzling etiquette questions is Patty Manning, a columnist and manners guru from Mannerations. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much, Meredith.
I have questions spinning through my mind most recently because I was married and now we got such beautiful, wonderful gifts from people, and I'm catching up on the thank you notes and I'm getting nervous because it's been about 2 weeks since I've gotten them and I'm going, oh my gosh, soon it's going to be too late before I can send them. So many questions in my mind. So I think the first one that I'm going to say is, what is the general guidelines for sending a thank you note?
Well, there's general guidelines, but the first one is to send the thank you note promptly. And don't worry,
Is
2 weeks is
promptly?
still fine. It's still fine. I'm sure you have many thank you notes. Congratulations on your recent marriage.
Thank you, Patty.
But 2 weeks is fine. I think the sooner you're able to get them out, the nicer it is. It's a sign of you're being considerate to the other person. Really, a thank you, if you think about it, is you're repaying kindness with kindness. Mm-hmm. And the guidelines basically, aside from promptness, is be specific. You know, thank you for the lovely dish. And say, oh, I can't wait to display it in my china cabinet. It will look wonderful. So the one is promptness, the other one is to be specific. Mention the gift. Let the gift giver know that you received the correct gift and you know it's from them. And then also mention a little bit about what you intend to do with that gift.
Oh, that's a good idea. All right. So thankfully I have done that. I've said, you know, thank you so much we got adorable Christmas decorations this year, winter decorations. I said specifically, thank you so much. It's going to look beautiful on my table, so on and so forth. Is it okay if I send that in an email?
No.
I didn't think so. I knew you were going to say that.
No.
So what are the guidelines for electronic correspondence?
I think that is such a good question. And electronic thank yous, I have two general guidelines. If someone gives you an electronic happy birthday Meredith, you could send back an electronic email, oh, thank you for thinking of me and for sending me an electronic card. If someone gives you an actual gift, and whether you've opened it up in front of them or while they weren't there, I still think a handwritten thank you is the way to go.
Really? Even if you open it up in front of them and
Even
say,
if
oh my
you
gosh,
opened
thank you
it
so
up-
much, this is perfect, this is beautiful, still follow it up with a handwritten note?
I would follow it up with a handwritten note, only because a handwritten note is very personal. If you think about it, this person took the time and the energy to think about you and get you a personal gift. It's not too much to ask to take a little bit of your time and jot down 2 or 3 sentences. Thank you notes don't have to be elaborate. 2 or 3 sentences thanking the person, putting it in the mail. It should take you a couple minutes to do, and it just means so much. It's also sometimes a keepsake. Sometimes you hold on to certain
Yeah, that's one of the things
cards.
that I know you say, because sometimes people say, oh, you know what, manners schmanners, you know, this is all those rules and everything like that. What's wrong with sending an email? But you had really, really good points on the fact that there's a big difference between a personal handwritten note and an email. And you said holding on to them is one of those.
They are a keepsake. There's something special that someone writes from you, whether it's from an adult, and even more importantly, if it's from a child. I mean, a child has such a beautiful, endearing handwriting, and they sometimes decorate, or they put a sticker, or they personalize it for you, and it just means so much for the gift giver. I mean, like I said, they took the time, they brought you this special gift, and you repay it by writing a thank you note to them.
You mentioned children, so how old is ideal for them to start writing thank you notes themselves instead of mommy and daddy just taking care of it?
I love this question because as soon as a child can hold a pencil, a crayon, a marker, they can participate in the process. They might not be able, of course, at 2 or 3 years old to write down, you know, Dear Jody, thank you so much for that wonderful sweater, but they can actually just put on a folded card. You could fold a piece of construction paper together for them, and they could scribble, or as they get older, they might be able to draw a picture on the front of it. And as they get a little bit older and can write, they can actually write their own thank you note, or if they're not at the point where they can write yet, they could dictate a note to you, and you could write it on their behalf. Mm-hmm. So they could decorate the front of the card, and they've participated in the process. They're learning how to say, thank you for that beautiful sweater. I can't wait to wear it. Pink is my favorite color. You know, they learn the idea of writing a thank you note to be specific specific. They learn to say what they intend to do with the thank you note. And children have to be reminded that it's not just a gift that they thank somebody for, and adults too, that it's also sometimes a gesture. You could thank someone because they did something kind for you. If a neighbor is going to help you shovel out in a snowstorm, a little handwritten note goes a long way. And it's not only gifts children have to remember, it's also acts of kindness.
That's a wonderful thing to keep in mind, because sometimes the best gifts aren't physical things that you keep, and showing your appreciation for those is very important too. And I like also what you said about starting them early and making them understand, even if they can't write the words out, that the intention is there to say, thank you so much for this, I really like it, I'm going to use it, I'm going to enjoy it. And to start it early, then it's never going to seem like a chore.
It will never seem like a chore, and it will become second nature to them. They'll know, okay, I received a gift, all right, maybe it's not my favorite activity, but I need to write a thank you note in the next couple days. And people get confused. Children don't need fancy stationery. A piece of construction paper is fine. It's never an excuse to not send a thank you note because you don't have fancy enough stationery. I doubt that the person on the other end receiving the thank you note is going to be like, oh my gosh, Meredith, that stationery? No, that's not
I think of that. I spent
it's the
3
spirit.
days looking for my wedding thank you notes, because I was, oh no, these aren't right. Oh, what are people going to think if I send these? Oh no. And I ended up going with like basic cream with script on it. But it's something, you can't get stuck in that mode, I think, of worrying too much about that. And you mentioned too, even if they didn't really like the gift that much, that's something interesting. Excuse me. When it comes to children, how should they receive a gift? How should they be taught or trained to receive a gift if they already have it or they don't particularly like it?
That's a hard lesson for children. Children are so spontaneous and they're so fun to be around. And one of the basic tenets of good etiquette is honesty. So it's a very difficult lesson to teach a child. If a child opens up a game of Monopoly and says, oh, I already have that. The gift giver doesn't feel so good about it, especially if they're present when that occurs. So really the best thing you can say to your child is to remind them that it's the act of giving a gift. It's the spirit in which the gift is being given. It's not the actual gift itself. And when that happens, you could say, oh, you know what, Molly? Look at that lovely game. That's a wonderful game. You're not saying you hate it. You could already have it, and it is a wonderful game. But you're saying that when a gift is received, you thank someone for the gift. And even in the thank you note, you still don't have to teach a child to lie. You could say, you know, dear Aunt so-and-so, thank you so much for the Monopoly game. I think I'm going to have a great time playing with it. It's one of my favorite games. Maybe not that particular box, but the game of Monopoly.
Overall.
And again, you're basically repaying kindness with kindness. You're telling someone, you took the time, you got me this gift, and thank you so much for doing that.
We have so much good information, and I know we're running out of time, but I did want to say, you said promptness was important. When does promptness run out? That's the last question I want to ask you. You know, a few weeks have gone by, sometimes for some people a few months have gone by, and you just feel like, oh my gosh, if I send it now, I'm just going to look like an idiot. Is that true? When's it too late?
It's never too late to send a thank you note. Again, it's never too late to send a thank you note. If, say for some unforeseen reason, a year goes by and you remember, especially it's hard if it's a wedding and you received 100+ presents. It's sometimes hard, you lose track, accidents happen, and I would be honest in my thank you note. Dear so-and-so, I'm so sorry for this belated note, but I wanted to let you know that I did receive your gift, and I wanted to thank you so much for that, and go on for how you intend to use the gift. But you could have started by apologizing and being honest. I'm so sorry for this belated note. And
I really liked it, and every time I used it, I thought about the fact that I should have sent you a thank you note.
Well, I don't know if I would say all that, but I would suffice it as,
I wouldn't either.
I'm sorry for this belated note.
No, thankfully, none of that is going to happen to me, but it's thanks to Patty, because she came and visited us. So thanks for being here today, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me.